Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. We are slightly delayed this morning. It's been quite the morning at the Let's Talk Supply Chain studio this morning, but I'm super excited to be here with you today for Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I am the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast, as well as Blended Podcast and our nonprofit now called the Blended Pledge as well. I am getting ready, just getting all the details ready before I leave for California tomorrow because I will be joining all of my friends in logistics and supply chain at TPM Tech this week and then TPM next week as well. Next week, we are going to be celebrating the winner of the DEI honors that Audrey and I have been working on for quite a number of months, and we're excited to share with you who is going to be the winner of that as well. So, before we get started, we could not do Thoughts and Coffee without our sponsor, Emerge. Emerge is proud to partner with Thoughts and Coffee to elevate our combined focus on empowering and growing meaningful relationships in the freight industry. The first and only freight specific RFP platform, Emerge is reinventing freight procurement by offering solutions that enhance the spot and contract procurement process, enabling shippers to make the most strategic decisions possible, saving invaluable time and enhancing productivity. Learn more at emergemarket.com/thoughts and coffee. All right. Without further ado, let's talk about what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So, we've got a brand new episode for you that just released yesterday with Optimal Dynamics. Now, this conversation, I had a lot of fun in really learning more about what they're doing and how they're changing the game in supply chain tech. If you have not heard of Optimal Dynamics, now is your chance. Go and check them out over on letstalksupplychain.com or wherever you subscribe to the show. It was episode 248. We've also got, I think, a video clip over on Let's Talk Supply Chain, LinkedIn, and social media as well. So go check that out for just a teaser of what you can learn from this episode today. Now, we also have, what else do we have? Oh, Blended. Yes. So our episode of Blended came out last week. It's our February episode. We've got Jennifer Victoria and Lisa Morales Hellebo talking about the difference between culture and community and what can we learn. And I learned so much from these amazing women. They have spoken very authentically in this episode about their background and how they learned from it and how they've incorporated it into their day-to-day lives and what it actually means for not only their personal life but also their professional life as well. So I highly recommend, I mean, I'm a little bit biased, but I highly recommend going to listen to this episode. We had a lot of fun making it, and it's definitely sure to open up your mind to what we were talking about in that episode. All right. So we've also got some upcoming events. So no bullshipping with Hope White. This is going to be her second episode, and she's going to go live next Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Not this Friday, I think, but next Friday. No, is it this Friday? No, it might be this Friday. Is it this Friday? I'm not entirely sure, but she is going live either this Friday or next Friday. So go and hit the attend button. We have this. Actually, I'll have AJ put the link up in the comments so that you can go check out this post and click attend to any of the events that I'm talking about today. We've also got the Global Supply Chain Sustainability Summit on the 9th of March with 4Kites. Then we've got Purpose, Planet, Profit with Topple. So they just went live last week, and you can go and catch up on any of their episodes or any of the live show episodes over on the Let's Talk Supply Chain YouTube. We've got playlists for all of our live shows. So go check that out. First things first with Mercado, it's every second Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. So they're going to be coming up again in March. Action items with DC, same thing. They're going to be happening the same week, and that's coming up in a couple of weeks. You've got Log Tech Live. So Eric Johnson is going to go live, I think, next Friday, which is the first Friday of March. And he's going to be talking about everything that happened at TPM Tech. If you missed it, Then, of course, we've got Coming in Hot with Abby Baird. So many amazing live shows that are happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. And then, of course, we're going to be at TPM. So TPM Tech is happening the end of this week, and TPM is happening the beginning of the following week. Now, I'm going to be doing woman on the street interviews during the networking events, and we have some fun questions to ask our fellow supply chainers. So stay tuned for that B-roll, because we're going to be coming at you live from TPM actually, and I'm going to be hosting TPM TV for them. So make sure to check that out. And then, of course, we have Thoughts and Coffee. Now, that is it for what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So without further ado, Audrey is joining me today, but we need to give her a big round of applause because it's 7 a.m. where she is in California, and she literally just arrived yesterday. Good morning, Audrey.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
How was your flight?
It was pretty good. The first leg of it, I had lots of leg room, and then, which I tweeted about, and then I got onto the second part, and it was so jammed, I was in the middle seat that I couldn't even, it was like the 4 hours from Chicago to LA, which is a little tight. But lovely, smooth sailing, beautiful adventure. So, yeah.
Smooth sailing in an airplane. I love it.
Yeah.
Fun. So why don't you tell everybody who you are?
Sure. So I'm Audrey Ross. Today I'm tuning in from Los Angeles, California, because I'm speaking at TPM Tech on Thursday, and then, of course, attending the main sort of TPM event next week. And everybody's really excited. There's a lot of buzz about it. It's one of the first conferences I think we're getting back to. So lots of excitement around that. My day job, which I'm doing right now, is logistics and custom specialist at Orchard Custom Beauty. A bunch of them are also here in LA for Makeup LA. So MULA, if you're here for that, say hi to my team. I think that's a bit about me.
Awesome. I love it. Well, I want to say hi to Davin and Krissa over on my personal LinkedIn. So thanks so much for joining us. It's been a crazy morning. I've been, sending lots of emails, putting out some fires before I leave tomorrow. And I still have, I think, like 4 recordings today. And I've got to pack up all of my studio to take with me because, of course, we are portable.
You're going to be
from anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always fun putting out the fires when you're trying to travel and like you're trying to connect. I've had my laptop open at one point trying to connect to Wi-Fi in in Chicago airport. Like, wow, it's like Group 8 is boarding, and you're like, just a second.
Just a second. And so many like last minute things that I'm not used to because I'm usually pretty prepared. But I don't know, for some reason, this trip I'm like, got some last minute things going on. Good morning, Jeffrey. Thanks so much for joining us today. All right, so what are we talking about today? I don't even know. We've got a poll.
Yes.
So this poll was actually very controversial. And
it's very hot, yeah.
We posted it on my personal LinkedIn last week. And it's really in relation to the story that's coming out of Belgium that's saying that they are doing a trial of a 4-day work week. So you work longer hours for 4 days of the week, but you get, I guess, a long weekend, right? And you're not supposed to work on the 5th day. I don't know how that's going to work for supply chain professionals in Belgium. So I guess we're just going to have to see. And if anybody knows anybody in Belgium, a couple of months from now, let's check in with them and see if it actually worked for them. So the question that we asked is the 5-day work week outdated? So 76% of people said yes. And we had 468 votes on this.
Oh, wow.
15% of you said no, and 9% of you said depends. Comment below. And we had 39 comments on this, which I will go into in a minute. But I want to ask you, Audrey, what are your thoughts on this? Are you in the yes category, the no category, or the depends category?
Oh, no, I'm a for sure yes to the work week is outdated. It's a social construct. It's built around like factory timing. It's built for what was sort of traditionally the sort of male job schedule. It doesn't line up with school schedules. It's impossible to drop off your kid and pick up your kid and be at work from 9 to 5 because they go to school at like 8 to 3 or something. It's constructed. We can deconstruct it and make it better.
And what about you in the audience? I want to hear from you whether you think that a 4-day work week can work for supply chain professionals. So what they were saying in the comments is that most of the production facilities can work 4 days for 10 hours, but because supply chain actually is, obviously products are moving 24/7, they're saying that the 4-day work week doesn't really work in supply chain specifically
Mm.
because, you know, we're constantly
But
working.
that's
I
sort
mean,
of,
as well as I do, we're constantly working.
well, but that could, I mean, is that situational because we're sort of in this pandemic and sort of supply chain market crisis, or is that, and I mean, can we put, they talk about this a lot with, Amazon doing same day deliveries. Can you walk that convenience back from people so that they haven't, it would be a new expectation of convenience, which means, yeah, you might not get your deliveries on Saturdays and Sundays anymore. And what does that mean, right? So
Yeah.
there, I mean, there's a lot to consider, but mental health and well-being, and that is also maybe could be prioritized.
Well, and somebody just said no because the seven
Yeah.
day work week is in. I think that was Larry.
Yeah.
And I guess the whole question is maybe that we don't try to fit it all into one box, whether it's 4 days or
Yeah, Monday to, yeah, it's, yeah.
it
Yeah.
needs to be kind of flexible. I remember talking to John about how him and his wife sort of tag teamed the week when the kids
Yeah.
were home from school. And
Yeah.
so they were working, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, one of them
Yeah.
was, and then
Yeah.
the other person was working, I think,
Did
Monday,
the,
Tuesday, Wednesday, and then they were switching off. And so I think the ability to be flexible
yes.
rather than trying to put it all into a 5-day box or a 4-day box, I think is probably more the answer. And I think it's got to be because, again, we're trying to fit everybody into one box, and not everybody or every profession or
No,
industry fits into one box. And
no.
so I think, it's really just a situational, person by person, maybe company by company, and staying a little bit more flexible.
Yeah, I agree.
You do? Thank
I
you.
do. I do, because it's true. Like, this is the thing. 9 to 5 works for some people.
It totally does. I know.
It just doesn't work for a whole lot of other people. So what's the compromise, or can we find some sort of flexibility and hybrid that really sort of makes it work for most people?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I posted this yesterday because I'm packing for TPM, and we've talked about this before on Thoughts and Coffee. I am going comfortable for conferences in 2022. No
Yeah,
more heels, although you can see on the middle one that I do have a bit of a
it's a bit
platform
of a step.
just to give me a little bit of height, but we're still comfortable. I've been breaking these in for the last 3 weeks so that I don't get blisters like I did in Vegas. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, but every
So,
time you go to Vegas, you get blisters. That place is massive.
so what are you wearing for TPM? What's your conference footwear?
I do have a nice pair of loafers that are businessy and comfortable. But it took a while to find those and to break them in. And then I do have, yeah, I do tend to wear. I mean, I'm tall already, so I do tend to wear flats. It'd be nice to wear heels every once in a while, but they also don't fit in the suitcase sometimes. So I definitely
They take so much room up.
they take up so much room, and this is the thing: you're on your feet all day, and so what's the, like, nobody's really looking at your feet.
I said
You know,
I said that I said that COVID had really changed my priorities to
yeah,
really focus on my comfort.
and well-being, exactly. And not that, like, heels have a place for sure, and maybe if you're not as sort of tall as I am, I don't know, they're a bit more comfortable, but yeah,
Oh, so Imtiaz just brought it to our attention.
yeah. It's a lovely. Is that palindrome?
And then Jeffrey says, "What's with the yellow laces?" Listen, Jeffrey, I had the choice between white laces and yellow laces. And I like the yellow laces, I'm not gonna lie. Anyways,
Go
let's
big.
move on from here. So, my post from Sunday was about it's okay to say no. So, a little bit
Yeah.
about boundaries and talking about the strength to have boundaries. A lot of people really resonated with this post on Sunday. What do you think about saying no? I know for me, it took a long time for me to be able to say no. But now it's kind of, something that is empowering and liberating to be able to be like, no, you know what? That's not going to work for me today. Or no, I
Yeah.
don't appreciate being treated this way.
Yeah.
No, this is not okay. So what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I mean, it's a good reminder. And for me, I've had to frame it because I have a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of things I like to participate in. And like my sister tells me, she's like, you're one person
Mhm.
and you need to sleep. And I think it's someone's framed it as, you can say no, but it's also you're saying yes to something else. And for me, flipping it a little to be like, me saying no to this means I'm saying yes to what else? Like what else is possible when I say no to things that don't, anything that feels like an obligation now, I'm like, it's not good for me to do it, and it's not good for the person I'm doing it for, because I'm not going to do a great job, right? Whereas if I'm, if I say no to something, it's like it leaves room for me to do a great job at something else, or have a better experience at it. But yeah, I think too, it's the patience thing. Through the pandemic, I feel like our patience for sort of the sort of drama or ridiculousness or overwhelm is just sort of done. So I think a
You're
lot of
saying
people
yes to
are like,
yourself, right? I mean, if you say no to something, you might be
you're
saying yes
saying
to
yes to
yourself.
your goals and and not everything aligns, and it's not personal. It's not like, I want people to succeed at whatever they've asked me to help them with, but it's like, it just doesn't fit for me. It's not going to be a great experience. And I think I'm just tired of loading up my schedule for busyness.
Yeah.
It just doesn't
Busyness.
fit.
No
Yeah.
more busyness.
No more
Anyway,
business. No.
Jeffrey is still on the laces and
Yeah, of
says
course.
that I'm a yellow laces pioneer.
It's
Well,
some
I
sort
will
of like
take a
urban
picture.
dictionary thing that we should be looking up. Like, it's like we just don't know, because I don't know, we're Canadians or something, that it's like some sort of.
Well, I'm going to take a picture of me in the yellow laces and have that for thoughts and coffee coming up.
It
So
seems very West Coast.
I just want to say hi to Sam and DC. DC
Hey.
is just about to head up on a flight to get to TPM. Love it. Can't wait to see you
Yeah.
there. And we need to get to our supply chain topic. So the
Oh,
first
yeah. Okay.
one is around 15-minute deliveries.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think do we have 15-minute deliveries in Canada? I don't think we do. I think
I
this
don't
is
think we do.
probably an American
It
thing.
sounds like a US thing. Yeah.
But the reason why I picked this article is really to take a look at the costs around 15-minute delivery. Yes, do we want our stuff faster? Is it happening right now? I mean, yes or no, because it depends if anything's in stock. I mean, that's one thing. But this particular sector actually raised almost $6 billion. And what's interesting is most of them are losing at least $3 per order. And all of these costs right here, if you can take a look at this. So they're losing $3.20 per order. But at the bottom there, it says it's excluding marketing, administration, and overhead. And what they've listed in this article is that marketing and actually acquiring a customer is costing them about $70. So they're actually losing anywhere from $73 to about $75 per order just to be able to deliver within 15 minutes. But they've raised $6 billion, which is crazy. And the only products that this really works around is when you've got hyper local warehouses,
Yeah.
instant labor, which I mean, obviously, with a labor shortage, is going to be hard to find, and high value non perishables. So, what did you think when you saw this article?
Yeah, I just think it's like it just keeps ramping up this perceived convenience factor that is just, I don't know, is it really necessary, and what is the cost? I mean, what's the cost to the company? They're at a loss, but they seem to think it's going to attract them new customers or keep business. But then you have to hustle, your employee or whoever you've hired has to like hustle, like it makes it the risk is like health and safety. Like, what happens if they're driving too fast because they're trying to meet this 15-minute window, and then
Mhm.
they get in an act? Like, it's just, I'm going like worst case scenario. But it's just, what does the convenience factor for us outweigh on the overall business cost, the sustainability, and the well-being of the person? So
Yeah.
that's sort of where my first thoughts on that one.
Do we really need 15-minute delivery? And what do we need delivered that quickly? That's
Yeah.
kind of my question to the audience.
Yeah.
And to put it into perspective, so back in 2001, Cosmo.com raised $200 million to deliver products within 1 hour.
Yeah.
And they actually closed their doors not
Yeah.
long after they
Yeah.
raised the money and spent all the money because of all the losses they were incurring. And that was with a 1 hour window. Like
Yeah,
that doesn't even like that's 45 minutes longer
it's
than the
more.
15-minute window that we're looking at. And so that's kind of the question that we have is around this 15-minute. Do we really need it? Do we not
Yeah.
need it? It's part of the last mile experience. Is it going to retain customers? Is it worth the losses that they're incurring? I'm kind of really curious to hear from everybody to see if that's something that we really need and if these companies are really going to succeed.
Yeah, and it's sort of gimmicky, and like I say, there's sort of a bigger cost to it, and yeah, I can see that, Jeffrey. I was thinking too of like a party, like you forgot a bunch of things for your party, but it's like, is the cost of our, us being disorganized, like worth this sort of mechanism? And from a company perspective, is it the gimmick that always gets you the customer, or is it the service? Like, and I mean timeliness is a factor of service, but is it, just a better experience? Or like, if you're planning a party, why don't you just hire a company to do that so you don't forget stuff? Or I think there's a lot of alternatives, and it just opens up a whole lot of kind of not positives on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So just want to say hi to Hector, Gabe, and everybody else on my personal LinkedIn as well. Thank
All
you
those
so much
other
for
people.
joining us there. All right. So our second article, and Audrey's going to love this one. Audrey loves coffee. I don't
Yeah,
know if you know this or if you've been around thoughts and coffee
you
long enough,
noticed.
but Audrey loves coffee. If you're following her on Twitter, if you're following her on Instagram, she loves coffee. So I thought that this article was very fitting. And also, I think back in January, Topple did a live show about the coffee supply chain. So if
Yes.
you want to go learn more about the coffee supply chain, go and check out Topple in their playlist on the Let's Talk Supply Chain YouTube. But this one talks about how Starbucks and everybody else is running out of disposable cups,
Yep.
lids, and cup sleeves. And
Yeah.
so, what you might be noticing when you've gone to your local Starbucks recently is that you're seeing holiday cups in February because it's the only inventory they have to provide you with your coffee in a disposable mug. What do you think about this being such a coffee connoisseur?
Well, I feel bad for the marketing team who puts together this very specific promo on their cups, and now branding is just kind of like, "Meh, whatever. It's March. It's a red cup. It's a red cup month." Uh, it's I think it's I mean it goes along with everything that we're seeing in the market, right? Like we're seeing these shortages, we're seeing these gaps, and it's a combination of sort of pandemic related issues, right? It's the labor issue. It's this, from the very raw materials, paper and pulp processing to, the other piece is that, they're using more cups because we haven't been allowed to use our takeaway mugs for about 2 years, right? For hygienic reasons. So I think that's maybe wasn't factored in, because I think for most stores, it's like, yeah, we have cups, we order cups, blah, blah, blah. But then, from 2020, nobody's been allowed to bring in their own. Right. And so and I've seen a lot of people, they'll give you a cup and you're immediately pouring it into your own, but that cup is still used, right, and done.
Yeah.
So it's just a combination of issues.
So this link is going to give you quite a few different
It
posts
gives you the
from
perspectives.
LinkedIn
Yeah.
actually talking about the supply chain mess and what's coming for your morning coffee. What I
Yeah.
thought was interesting was 6 billion cups a year, I think,
Yeah.
are used by Starbucks, which is a lot. But
A
one of
lot.
the most interesting points for me was that they're talking about the ice storm in Texas. And so we're still feeling the
Insane.
effects of the ice storm in Texas
That was
from back
last
in January 2021.
2021.
Because
Yeah.
if you guys have heard me talk about the ice storm that they had in Texas back in January 2021, it actually closed at least one or two major resin factories.
Yeah.
And I had originally thought that they were providing resin just for the car industry, the automotive industry.
Okay.
But apparently they weren't. They were also providing resin for the paper cups. And that's part of the challenge that they've been having in inventory for the paper cups. The other thing is that the paper mills are showing a shortage of workers.
Yeah.
So the labor shortage that we're talking about in supply chain are also
It's
being felt in the paper mills. And
yeah.
so if you're not if you're not stuck in all the stuff that's happening to bring stuff over from the Far East, you're stuck with labor shortages and a backup in resin to be able to make those products actually here. Some of the other interesting comments were about forecasting. Somebody was asking, can forecasting help? Probably not in this situation. They're saying that technology products should be able to help, but would they be able to tell us which cups and which lids would be out of stock at this particular moment to be able to make the decisions that you needed to make probably 6 months ago to avoid it?
Yeah, I can tell you what you don't have at the moment, but that's not how ordering works either, right? It's the forecasting piece. So it's important, but it's been hard because I think a lot of the labor shortages aren't just necessarily people aren't there, it's people are there sometimes and then they're sick and not there. And that inconsistency to labor, like to access, you can't plan around, oh, all of a sudden this week, 6 people are out of the office. All of a sudden this week, 15 people are, so it's pandemic related. We're just still living with it. So
we definitely are, even though some of the mandates have been lifted.
Yeah, even though apparently we're not, we still sort of are.
I want to go over to my personal social. Lee has asked if we're going to be at TPM 2022. We will be, Lee, but we'll probably be wearing masks. So you gotta see us from this high up.
Right.
That was the worst part at the last conference, was that I couldn't recognize anybody because I couldn't see from here below.
Name tags are going to make a comeback, I'm telling you. Name tags are going to be the hottest thing. Or like those shirts that you get for family events where it's like, I'm so-and-so's cousin, or this is so-and-so's my dad.
Well, I have a Let's Talk Supply Chain shirt, so I'll wear that on one night, just so everybody can recognize me. And then Ahmed said, we had a power cut in England due to a storm, and it was in the night, and we had no candles. Shops are closed, so our only option was the online shop, and we needed it as soon as 15 minutes. So there you go. That is a scenario where we do need a 15-minute delivery window. Thank you so much, Ahmed, for talking to us about that. Jeffrey has told me we've got a 3-minute warning, so we do have to get to our last article, which is about bodegas versus instant delivery apps. Now, you might be wondering, well, what does this have to do with supply chain? Well, bodegas are fighting those instant delivery apps, and one of the biggest decisions that are going to come down, I think it's in New York City, is going to decide whether bodegas are going to stay in business or instant delivery apps are actually going to be taking over. So instant delivery raised $5.76 billion, but they're not concerned with the massive losses to gain the market share.
Of course not.
A problem for bodegas, but they run out of micro-fulfillment centers. And so if they decide to categorize the micro-fulfillment centers as manufacturing, they won't be allowed to operate in the same neighborhoods as bodegas.
Right.
So it does come down to supply chain, because what do you actually classify our micro-fulfillment center, which are super important to the instant delivery apps that are going to replace some of our neighborhood shops like bodegas. So what did you think about this?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. We're trying to reconstruct some sort of infrastructure around this new convenient service that doesn't really fit in the neighborhood, right? We have to think of like our little walkable neighborhoods, and it's like, yeah, you just walk to your Toronto, we call them convenience stores. In New York, you've got these bodegas, but it's like we all go to them. A lot of people, they're tied into gas stations. So if you've got a car, you're going to swing into the gas station and pick that up. But it's like, how can you, because these are limited spaces and the neighborhood has a limited amount of space. You don't want like a facility moving into your neighborhood necessarily, but people are enjoying the convenience of or even not just the convenience. There is more to it than that, right? The accessibility of products that you might not be able to get to, but that can come to you. It's tough. Like how do you build in this new infrastructure and sort of reconstruct this new service and into what is a limited space and what is a market that, of course, we run into people who own and run bodegas or like bodegas. They just like it that way. So how do you kind of crack that mindset as well?
Well, and it's
Mhm.
something to think about when we think about a 15-minute delivery window as to what goes into that and what needs to
Yeah,
happen. So, hyper-local
yeah,
warehouses, those are the micro fulfillment centers that we're talking about in this particular article that have to be close to you to be
yeah,
able to deliver within that quick window. And so, what's the carbon footprint? What is the footprint that we're creating to be able to have that 15-minute window, to have that convenience? So, all sorts of things to really think about when you go to order online and you pick that delivery window as to when do you really need the product. Anyways, we have come down to time. Thank you so much to
yeah,
everybody who joined us this week. We will not be here next Tuesday. And the reason for that is because we will be at TPM, so we won't be able to do Thoughts and Coffee, and it's our 100th episode. And so Audrey and I want to come back in 2 weeks time for International Women's Day and
yeah.
celebrate our 100th episode with you. So March 8th, mark your calendars, 10 a.m. Eastern. Join us for Thoughts and Coffee for our 100th episode because we will be celebrating, having some fun, giving you some ideas of what happened at TPM. But for now, have a great couple of weeks, everyone. And thank you so much, Audrey, for joining me today. And thank you so much for everybody else who joined us today.